Hey Asha,
Hi, how you going?
good thanks. How are you?
Very good.
Thank you so much for coming on the Before You're Ready Summit. I'm super excited to chat to you face to face again. I feel like we've been corresponding a lot over social media for the last 6 months. So it's great to chat to you again.
Yeah, no, I'm so excited to be a part of it. I think it's amazing.
And you had so much exciting stuff going on since I last seen you as well. So lots to
Amazing.
chat about. But
Yeah, I'm
for
sure
those
we could talk for
who don't
hours.
know you, you are the founder of Alternatively Healthy, which is an awesome self-love community for girls. You're also a body love coach. But I know you originally trained as an exercise scientist and you're actually a fitness bikini competitor. So I know it's been a bit of a journey for you, but I'd love to hear you sort of talk us through it, the short version in your own words, if that's all right, where you've come from and where you're at now.
Sure. Yeah, it does sound a bit crazy when you put it all together like that. Okay, so I guess technically my background is an accredited exercise scientist. I have a double degree in sports science, exercise and health. Um, and I guess through that knowledge of the human body combined with my experience of pushing my own body to some pretty crazy extremes, and damaging it, to be honest, I created my brand Alternatively Healthy, which is all about teaching people how amazing, particularly the female body is, when we appreciate it for what it does rather than trying to change how it looks all the time. So yeah, I guess we'll uncover some more deeper pieces of my journey as we go, as we always do. But yeah, I had to hit some pretty low rock bottoms to learn to appreciate my body myself, and I guess that sparked my whole love to teach other girls to do the same.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm sure we'll, like you said, uncover more about it as we go, but that's an awesome little synopsis. So I want to talk a bit about loving your body. Obviously, that's what you're all about. And I guess the concept of loving your body before you're ready or before you feel perfect. And I feel like what's really interesting about you is that it took you reaching basically what's considered the pinnacle of perfection to maybe realize that that's not what it's all about, or maybe it's not what it cracked up to be. So I'd love to know how that experience of competing, how that was a bit of a catalyst for you, learning to accept your body in all its different stages.
Definitely. And it's so true that I have always been a perfectionist. When I was in high school, that started with my grades, and I felt that anything other than 100% perfect was not good enough. And when I moved to uni and entered this world of health and fitness, I thought, oh my gosh, this has given me all of life's answers. I figured it out. I know how to reach perfection, and I know how to reach happiness, basically. So I stuck to this really strict exercise routine and, counted my calories, and I guess what I believed was working towards health, um, but in a perfect sense. And anyone who's a perfectionist will understand that it
Relatable.
very quickly, yes, it very quickly changed just from wanting to move my body to feel good and to eat food that was, giving me enough energy and nourishing my body, to having to do it to the extremes. So exercise was, had to burn a certain number of calories, had to go for a certain duration. And yeah, food no longer became enjoyable because it was all about tracking it and analyzing everything. So basically I reached a point where I realized that the way that I was pushing myself and manipulating my body maybe wasn't as healthy as I thought. But being stuck in that negative mindset, I had no idea how to pull myself out of it, and kind of wasn't ready to admit it either. But long story short, there was a lot of money spent and a lot of time spent on specialists and doctors. And it took one of them saying to me, Asha, there's nothing physically wrong with your body that's making you unhealthy. It's in your mind. And if you don't start looking after your body, we're going to have to refer you to someone for an eating disorder. And to prove how stuck in that negative mindset I was, instead of saying, yes, I need help right now, I signed up to my bodybuilding coach and was so convinced that if I just stuck to the next 12 weeks of really, really strict exercising and eating to get the perfect body, then I must be healthy and then everything would be fine. But I guess my first turning point was that moment that I stepped up on stage in my shiny pink bikini with the perfect body that I thought was going to absolutely change my life. Only, you know, I won the awards and I was like, this is it, everything's going to change. Stepped off of the stage and had never felt so lost and so unhealthy in my whole life. And that's when I realized, wow, if the body isn't going to bring happiness and those perfect grades didn't bring happiness, then what's going to?
So true. Yeah. It's only when you get there and the goalpost keeps moving that you realize, and sometimes it takes people decades to realize that, like, you just, you know, you're still the same person inside. You still have the same thoughts about yourself. Nothing changes just because you reach that goal.
No, exactly. And if the underlying problem's in your mind, then changing the way that you look or, you know, the outcome that you get on a piece of paper, that's not going to change your life.
Yeah, exactly. And what made you decide to start Alternatively Healthy? Was that an idea that you had in mind for a while before? Like, was it quite a process getting it off the ground?
Oh, definitely. So after I stepped off of stage, I think that was 3 years ago now, stepped off of stage and I'd never felt so lost. Like I said, I didn't know what was going to bring happiness. And for the first time, I didn't have that ultimate goal that I was striving towards. So I did what I did last time and I just went to a GP. But this time I was honest about how I had been treating my body and what was actually going on in my mind. And I guess for the first time, I was told what the consequences were of how unhealthily I was pushing my body. And it really touched my values and things that mattered to me. So basically the one that touched home the most was that she said, if I didn't start looking after my body, I may never be able to have kids. And for the first time ever, I thought, oh my God, I've done this to myself. Something's got to change. And I never want to sound like that person that is like, and then everything was fine and it was fixed, because it wasn't.
Never
It was
simple, yeah.
No, it was a big journey with lots of professional help and all that kind of stuff. But the thing that sparked Alternatively Healthy was when I, for the first time, started to open up about the journey that I'd been through. And this was just, you know, with a couple of close friends. It was really scary. But they all said that in some way they could relate to what I had been through, whether it was just a, you know, one little negative thought about themselves, or, you know, everyone saying that I never wake up every day and love my body. And I thought, wow, I'm not different and I'm not unusual. Why couldn't I talk about this before? And I guess every time I heard that from someone, it gave me a little bit more of a confidence boost to share it with someone else. And before I knew it, it kind of got to this point where I was sharing it with people that I didn't even know. And I had no plan of starting a business or anything like that. Bear in mind, at the time, I was a fitness trainer. So I was teaching people how to train their bodies, I guess.
Yeah.
Sorry. And yeah, and then all I wanted to do, the thought that was going through my head was, if talking about this has helped me this much, imagine how much it could help other people, especially me being a professional in the health industry and myself being confused about this kind of stuff. Imagine what girls were going through that have no background in it and are bombarded every day with all these messages on what it means to be healthy. So all I did was go to a local cafe, introduce myself and said, hey, would you mind if I ran a small little get together for a group of girls after hours? This is what it's about. And I'm just lucky that she liked the idea and she said, yep, sure.
Legend.
Yeah. So I opened it up to 10 girls, and those spaces filled up really quickly. And I guess that was the first moment where I was like, this could genuinely change lives. I saw people make friendships and talk about these things that they'd been going through for so long for the first time. And that was how it started. I had no business plan. I don't think I had a name or anything at that point. And I just kept running them once a month and they would sell out. And that's when I was like, oh my gosh, this this needs to go further.
Yeah, what I love about your journey is that you didn't have all the things, all your ducks in a row before you started holding these events. Like you've got a big following now, but maybe at the time you didn't. Like you said, you didn't have a business plan. You just were like, I feel like there's value in this, and started hosting these events, which I think is amazing. You kind of did it backwards to what a lot of people think that they're meant to do, but I think it's great to sort of gauge the interest first and be like, is this going to help people? And then once you're like, oh yeah, like this really could help people, then it's totally worth investing your time and effort and energy and money into. But how did you get the word out about it, like in those early days? How did people find out about the event?
Um just touching base on what you just said, I am so glad that I did not go into it with a business plan, because I actually did a full circle. And at the start, it was like, I've got no idea what I'm doing, but I'm passionate about this and I'm going to try it. And then it got, I want to say maybe like 6 months in, and I thought, okay, this is kind of turning into a business. Maybe I need a plan. Maybe I need all these objectives. And that's when I hit just this plateau for ages, because I was holding myself back. So really interesting that you said that. But back to your question in the first place, I just relied on my local network. That was it. And when I hear people say that now, I listen to a lot of podcasts and all that kind of stuff about people that have these huge, well-known businesses. And it's crazy when you hear them say, I just started in the small town that I lived in, but it's so true. And I think as amazing as social media is, with how many people from all over the world we can impact, you never get a connection or a community quite like those people that you can connect with face to face. So that's where it started. Just, groups of girls from my local town. And I can still say that a lot of those girls are the ones that have been through the whole journey and supported me when I didn't know what I was doing. So it's been really amazing to watch them come through the journey as well.
What town are you from again?
Mandurah. It's about
how many people?
an hour south of Perth,
okay.
in WA.
I knew it was in Perth. Yeah. I think there can be a lot of strength in those smaller sort of communities where everyone does know each other, because like, hey, I'm working on this cool thing, and everyone like backs you. I think that's awesome. That would never happen in Sydney.
Yeah, true. But it's really interesting that you say that, because when I was going through that phase where I thought, oh my gosh, this is turning into this big business, it could be something huge, what am I going to do next? That was the time that I flew to Sydney and we met for the first time. But the reason for that in the back of my mind was, I've got to make it bigger. So I've got to go somewhere bigger where I can reach more people. It took me getting there to realize it didn't quite work like that. And I would definitely tell people, never underestimate the town that you're from, because I grew up in a smaller town in the Pilbara, up north of WA, where it was just this small mining town. And I guess a lot of the people growing up there would think I could never achieve something huge and I could never have my own business. But even those few people from there are ones that have followed my journey the whole time. And when I flew back up there and ran a workshop, it's still one of my favorite ones to date. So never underestimate the power of just a small community.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know with what you're doing with Alternatively Healthy, you do a lot of speaking, you do a lot of things like this, you do a lot of putting yourself out there. Is that something that comes really naturally to you, or is that something you've had to kind of work on, in terms of mindset and overcoming any fear around it?
Oh my gosh, growing up, I was the shyest girl you would ever meet, like for a really long time as well. No, and I think my mum was worried of how long I was shy for. Like, you can get away with it when you're small, but for a long time.
You're not over the top. It's not like you're over the top. No, you have like a quiet confidence maybe. And I think that is more common in people who do grow up shy. You have like a quiet, understated confidence, which is really nice.
Oh, I like that.
You're not like, hey, everybody.
I mean, so I get told that I say I'm really excited a lot, but that's about as far as it goes.
Yeah. Sorry, continue.
It comes back to the same concept as when I started sharing my journey. That was the scariest thing I've ever done. And anyone would know that I was going to say putting it out there online is the scariest thing you can do, but for some people, sharing it with your closest friends and family is just as scary. And I guess whenever I do get asked to speak now, I think back to the fact that I was able to open up about all of these things that, you know, were stopping me from living my life. And I can't even describe to you how scary that was. Whereas now, whenever I'm sharing my story and speaking, I know that even if I don't get someone come up to me or send me a message afterwards and say, hey, that helped me, I am so confident after speaking to so many people that I know there's going to be people in that audience that will be impacted by what I say. And I guess at the start, it's always scary. And I think even after I speak a million times, I'm still going to get that nervous feeling that comes with being vulnerable. But once you are confident in your message and confident in yourself, I don't think you worry how many people this is helping anymore, or what if I stuff up. I know that I'm going to spark something inside of one person out there, and that's all that matters.
Awesome. And tell me a little bit about what you're doing with Alternatively Healthy now, because I know it's evolved from just events. So what other sort of things are you doing with it at the moment?
So we just launched an online membership, which is basically taking the community to the next level. I find, coming back to that whole topic of vulnerability, we do have quite a large community online, but it's been really interesting that when I post things about my own personal journey or even sharing someone else's stories, girls are really uncomfortable to, you know, just comment on it or speak about it. But my inbox will go crazy. And I thought they're looking for genuine connections here, and a space that they can talk about their own issues or the own things that they're facing in a more supportive environment. So that's what we're creating. And basically it's all revolving around sharing other girls' stories, from body image to self-doubt, acne, bullying, all these kinds of things that we as girls go through, but that we feel like we're the only ones that go through them. So every week we share a new interview, including yours, which I'm super excited to share.
I feel like it's been a long time coming. I can't wait to see it all come together. It's
oh my gosh. People don't realize, and I am the first one to tell you that there was so much time and so many tears and meltdowns and all these things that we don't see on Instagram that went into making this possible. So it's very exciting that that's launching now. And most of my time during the week I actually spend in schools now. It was never my plan to start with. Again, coming back to not having to have this solid business plan. But I was really fortunate that a lot of local schools reached out to me, especially girls' schools. And yeah, that's one of my greatest passions now, is speaking to them. So I love it.
Oh, amazing. And I want to talk a little bit about transitioning Alternatively Healthy into a business, because I know you started it out of passion. Like it sounds like you weren't necessarily thinking it was going to be like a business. But the thing is with these things, like if we want to make it something that we do all the time and that we put all our effort and time into, you've got to make money from it. So has that been a hard sort of thing for you, a process to go through when you did start it from, you know, that sort of different sort of place? And yeah, what's that journey look like for you?
100%. It's been the hardest part of the journey for me, when we separate my personal journey and the vulnerability and the hard side of that. When I realized this is turning into a business and now I have to learn this whole new aspect of this, that was really hard. And my mindset around, like a lot of people, around having to make money, not only from something that I love, but from a place of wanting to help people, that was so hard for me. But I guess my number one thing around that was having the right supportive network around me. There's no way that I could have done that on my own, but straight away I seeked out a business mentor, or a few different mentors that could help me along the way. And I am really grateful that from the start I thought, I don't know these areas. I know how to do what I'm good at, which basically was just sharing my journey and and being the face of it and interacting with the girls. I couldn't get anyone else to do that, but I didn't know anything about finances or IT or marketing or anything like that. And yeah, I guess I just had to get my head around the fact that if I wanted this to be as big as I wanted it to and to grow like the vision I had in my head, then I had to invest not just the time, but also the help and the money to help it get there. So again, I don't just want to make it sound like it was this flip and I was like, yep, it's a business now, I can do it, because it's hard and it's something that I still struggle with. But it definitely gets easier the more that you believe in it and the bigger supportive network you get.
Do you mind if I asked if you had like savings to sort of help you get it off the ground? Is that sort of how you were able to get it started? You don't have to go into specifics.
Yeah, I definitely did. So probably ties into my perfectionism now that I think about it. But yeah, I worked all through school, and one of those girls that was like, cannot spend my money, have to save it just in case.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It sounds like it served you well.
Yeah, well, it did now that I think about it. And my advice to any of the younger girls is go to work while you can in school and save that money, but also live at the same time. So yeah, I did have those savings behind me. And also very lucky that I had now a supportive husband. That yeah, thank you. I'm still getting used to it. In those moments of doubt that I had about myself, particularly, yeah, I guess coming back to that perfectionism mindset, I would be like, but what if I spend all my money and it runs out and I'm still not where I want to be? But they're the kinds of thoughts that really got in the way for me. And I'm lucky that he said, it's just money. Worst case, you go back to what you studied and get a job, and then we start again. So it's so important to have those people around you. But yeah, I did have the savings, and I guess I was just cautious with how I started. I think it's hit and miss, and like I said, I'm not a business coach, so don't go and like take my advice, but it is a fine line between having that business plan and figuring out where you might have to spend your money and what you might have to invest in, versus my case where I guess it was a little bit of naivety and I thought, I need to spend this money to do this, I'm just going to do it, I'll work it out later, and you kind of just went with the flow. So every idea is different, but I mean, I started with small events at coffee shops, so it wasn't a huge investment. And for me, like, I've never really invested in marketing or anything like that, because the word of mouth from our community was what got it out there. So you definitely get to a point where you've got to take these next big jumps, but while you can, come back to that community, and yeah, especially with social media now, use the power of that community, and just show your passion, and other people will jump on board for the ride.
Yeah, I think word of mouth can be so powerful and underrated. Like, I know when I first started, even just my copywriting business, like that was the like referrals and word of mouth was what, like, when you have like no website, like no social media following, you just got to rely on that. And I think, yeah, you can go a long way with that. And is there a time that stands out to you in your career where you like really started something before you felt ready?
Everything.
Is there such thing as ready?
No, that's a good question. I will never feel ready to do anything. I've definitely come a long way with the perfection, and know my mental toolkit to overcome those moments now, but still, every time it comes to launching something or putting myself out there, or maybe just a small daily task, I don't feel 100% ready, and it's because it doesn't exist. So if I could go back and say something to my younger self, it would just, and sometimes younger self is like last week. It's
or
just
future
that,
self.
yes, same girl. It's that, you will never ever be 100% ready, but if you just keep sitting here and waiting for that time and rereading over what you're about to launch, or waiting till your body changes that little bit more until you can achieve happiness, you're wasting your life along the way, and you could be helping so many more people out there just by jumping in.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. Love it. And you are about to become a mum, which is super exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you. I feel like I keep running out of breath and like
no, you've done
hiccuping, and I'm
well.
like,
You've done well. You're going to earn yourself a nice nap after this, I feel like.
Oh, good.
But do you feel ready to become a mum? Are you like, yes, like get this baby out here? Or are you like, do you have any like, no, I mean, I guess everyone has nerves about such a big life change.
That's like, the idea of pregnancy and motherhood is this whole new topic in itself. And I guess ever since I was a little girl, I wanted to be a mum. Like, I knew that was something that I wanted. And especially when I had that big wake up call from the doctor saying you might never be able to have kids, I guess that re-sparked that, that reminder in me that is something that I really, really wanted. And when my body fell pregnant quite quickly, I thought, oh my gosh, like it's just meant to be. And I've developed this whole new respect and love for the female body that I thought I had before, but it's gone to a whole new level. What was your question? Now I'm going to start talking about.
I feel like you've answered it. I think you're going to be a great mom, like with how well you take care of your AH community. I feel like, yeah, you're going to have the motherhood thing down pat, and becoming a mother will, I think, continue to help you sort of nurture this like younger community as well.
Yeah, it's definitely bringing a whole new aspect into it. And yeah, I think that's what I was getting at before when, I was so sure that I've always wanted to be a mum. But when I first fell pregnant, you do get all those nerves and you get those negative thoughts of, I'm not ready for this. And I don't think it matters how ready you thought you were. When you actually fall pregnant and it hits you, you're like, there's no way that I'm ready. But at the start for me, I really tried to push through the sickness and push through the tiredness and just push my body. And it took me probably the first 3 months to stop and realize that actually this is my new journey now. And it was really amazing to be able to use all those mental tools that I'd learned and all those little reminders to say that actually, yeah, you are ready for this. You are going to have to adapt like anything new, but it's exciting and it's going to be a new ride. So now I'm definitely ready and I want the baby now, but I've still got like 3 months to go.
I'm sure it'll go quickly. I cannot wait to see the photos once. Oh, do we know if it's a boy or girl?
No, it's a surprise.
Oh, that's like even more exciting. Can't wait. Awesome. So where can everyone find you and AH, and do you have any like particular offers or products or anything that you'd like to direct them to?
Yeah, so best place is just Instagram at alternatively.healthy, where you can pretty much go to everything else from there, or the direct website is just alternativelyhealthy.com.au. That's where you'll find everything, but basically, yeah, the membership is quite new and really exciting because there's new self-love stories coming out every single week. Or if you're not quite ready to jump straight into that, then just join up to the mailing list and you still get a little summary of all of those interviews each week. So it's kind of like, these amazing takeaways from people's journeys. And I think my number one thing that I tell girls now is that we are so lucky that by listening to other people's stories, we don't have to reach our own rock bottom and have to have a big wake up call that says you need to change your life. We're so lucky that we can listen to what other people have been through, take away their biggest learnings and implement that into our own life and change it from there. So hopefully I can have that impact on some people, or if you just need some girls to kind of give you that little inspiration or spark, you can definitely find them in the community.
So true. And that's exactly why I, really appreciate you coming on and sharing your journey with our audience. I know they're probably a little bit older than your community, but I mean, we're all always growing, and I think your story can really help a lot of people. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing all your wisdom and journey on all things career and body image and pregnancy. It's been awesome chatting to you.
Oh, thank you so much. I feel so lucky to be able to talk to your girls.
Thank you.